Good evening. Welcome to Lower Frederick Township's work session for March 24th of 2026. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, well, doing our roll call this evening. All the members are in attendance. Supervisor Hexter is on Zoom this evening. We have our township manager, our solicitor, the chief of police, and our township engineer. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless such time is extended by the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on non-agenda items after all the agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. First item on our agenda this evening is for business is our conditional use hearing for 219 Fulmer. Peter.
This is a conditional use hearing. Is anyone here interested in this particular hearing? Anyone in the audience? Okay, great. So I'm going to do a little explanation before we get started. So just for everyone, this is a hearing. It's kind of like a mini trial with the 5 supervisors up there as the judges. I'm going to be here kind of running things and providing legal advice. And there's a court reporter right here. So first off, it's very important that everyone keep quiet, don't talk during the hearing, don't talk over someone else, because it's hard enough for her to keep track of one person, much less 2 or 3 at the same time. Secondly, those of you who are interested in this particular hearing, you have 3 ways to participate in this hearing. Right now, you're doing one, which is you're here and listening. The second way is at the end of this hearing, we will ask for public comment. And at that point in time, you can stand up. We will swear you in. You'll give your name and your address, and then you can give your thoughts on this particular project, either for it or against it or just some aspect of it, whatever you want. Lastly, if you do wish, you can seek to become a party to this particular hearing. Being a party means that you can fully participate in the hearing. You can ask questions of the applicant's witness. You can cross-examine them. You can present your own evidence, your own documents. You can present your own witnesses. To become a party, however, you can't just be any normal person. You need to have a heightened interest in the outcome of this particular application. What that really means is if you live close enough to it, you have a heightened interest. So with that being said, before we get any further into this, does anyone in the audience wish to become a party to this particular hearing? Okay, I'm going to let the record show that no one asked to become a party. This means you can still listen and you can still give public comment at the end of the hearing if you wish. With that being said, my next thing I'm going to do is I am going to put a few exhibits into the record. Mr. Gill, these are, I've quickly looked at, you're presenting, some of my exhibits overlap yours. I'd rather do belt and suspenders than spend time figuring out whose is what. So, and you can reference yours if you're more comfortable with that. I just want to make sure the record's complete. So that being said, I'm going to have marked as Exhibit B1, Board 1, the conditional use application and the cover letter dated February 4th, 2026. Exhibit B2 is the plan set for the conditional use application consisting of 3 sheets. Exhibit B3 is a letter, it's actually the proof of publication and letter to the Pottstown Mercury dated February 18th, 2026, regarding the publication of the legal notice for this hearing. Exhibit B4 is a letter dated February 18th, 2026, from Eric Allgood of my office to Michael Gill, giving him and the applicant notice of tonight's hearing. Exhibit B5 is the affidavit of service dated March 12th, 2026, regarding letters sent to the neighbors. Exhibit B6 is the affidavit of posting dated March 12th, 2026, of the posting of the property. Exhibit B7 is the February 13th, 2026 review letter published by Value Engineering. Exhibit B8 is the 2026 memo of the Lower Frederick Planning Commission giving their recommendation regarding this particular application. And those are all of the board exhibits at this time. Mr. Gill, how many witnesses do you have?
We just have one witness, Mr. Nelson.
Okay, why don't we swear them in, and then I will let you hand the case over to you, and you can get started, sir.
Thank you very much. This is Scott Camburn with Erweiler and Walter Incorporated. And Scott, would you go ahead and be sworn?
Scott T. Camburn, C-A-M-B-U-R-N. I do.
All right. Thank you very much, members of the board, members of the audience. My name is Michael Gill. I am an attorney with the law firm Camburn Rubin.
I'm sorry, this is Marla. I can't hear a thing. Is the microphone on?
Marla, can you not hear him at all? Can you hear any of us?
I cannot. I heard you. After that, I did not hear a thing.
Mr. Gill, yeah, if you just slide it much closer to you, unfortunately.
Is that better, ma'am?
Yes, now I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I was introducing myself. My name is Michael Gill. I'm an attorney here in Montgomery County, and I have the pleasure of representing Heidi Gerhardt, the owner of 219 Fulmer Road. And I was just going over in some brief background what brings us here this evening, which is an application for conditional use approval for development of a single-family dwelling within areas characterized by steep slopes under the Steep Slopes Conservation District overlay zoning district. I do have a packet of exhibits, which I put up on the dais, and Mr. Wager and Mr. Nelson, I had a shared copy for each of you, or for both of you, I should say. And if I could go ahead and mark as Exhibit A1, the deed to the property. A2, and again, as Mr. Nelson pointed out, some of these are duplicative. A2 is the conditional use application itself. A3 is the CV of a gentleman named Paul Yaskowski, who works with Mr. Camburn. Mr. Yaskowski's wife had surgery today, so he can't be here with us this evening. So Scott is equally as qualified and here with us this evening. A4 is an aerial photograph of 219 Fulmer Road and its environs. A5 is an existing features plan, which Mr. Camburn will talk to us about in just a moment. A6 is selected photographs of the existing single-family dwelling at the property and some of the outbuildings on the property. A7 is the conditional use exhibit plan, which depicts exactly what it is that Ms. Gerhardt's would like to do at the property. A8 is the very important erosion control plan, and Scott will take us through how we propose to implement erosion control measures at the property. A9, again duplicative, is the review letter by Value Engineering. And A10, we did not have the memo from the Planning Commission, so I have the Planning Commission meeting minutes as an exhibit A10. As I said, we do have one witness here this evening. It's Mr. Camburn. Is the deed sufficient, Mr. Nelson, for establishing standing, or would you like to have Ms. Gerhardt's testify that she owns the property? I'm fine. Okay, great. Then, without any further delay, Mr. Camburn, would you go ahead and take a look at this document that I've marked as part of Exhibit A3? Do you recognize that?
I do.
Is that a statement of your professional qualifications?
Yes, it is.
Do you regularly, as part of your professional work, engage in the development or the preparation of site development plans for land development purposes? Oh, sorry.
I do.
And is your statement of qualifications current and accurate as of this evening?
Yes.
And have you been recognized as an expert by other municipal boards or commissions as an expert in the field of land development site plan preparation?
I have.
All right. I would offer Mr. Camburn as an expert in the field of site development and the preparation of land development plans.
Sorry. I'm just a little confused here. Hold on 2 seconds. So the CV you gave us is Paul's CV, not...
There are two CVs in that.
Oh, there it is. Okay, that's why I'm confused. Okay, great. Does the board have any questions for this witness regarding his expertise as a professional engineer?
Mr. Camburn is not a professional engineer.
Okay. As a...
And I'm offering that as an expert in the field of site development and the
Okay.
preparation of land development plans.
Okay, do you have any questions regarding his expertise in that area?
So you're familiar with this project?
I am.
Okay.
Does the board have any issues with accepting this witness as an expert witness in these areas?
I have none.
I do not. They're so accepted,
All
Mr.
right.
Gill.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Camburn, Chairwoman of the board just asked you if you are familiar with the project that we're here about this evening. You testified that you are familiar. Is that
Yes.
correct? All right. I'm going to play the role of Vanna White here, and I'm going to put up on the board a plan that shows existing conditions at the property. Have you personally visited the property that's the subject of this hearing?
I have.
Could you please describe for us, if you will, using exhibit A5, which I think you should have there. Would you please describe for us the existing conditions at 219 Fulmer Road?
Site consists of 4.89 acres gross. It consists of 2 tax parcels. There is 1 existing abandoned dwelling, 1 old barn, and 2 outbuilding structures, shed-type buildings. Mostly wooded, a lot of steep slopes primarily away from the road down towards the adjacent creek. That meanders on the rear side of the property.
All right, go ahead, I'm sorry, were you done?
That's it.
All right, I'm showing you a series of photographs that are marked collectively as Exhibit A6. Based on your personal knowledge of the property, are these photographs descriptive or depictive, excuse me, of the structures that you just referred to, the existing structures?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and you're with the firm of Erweiler and Walter, correct?
Correct.
And was your firm retained by Ms. Gerhardt to provide site plan preparation with regard to the redevelopment of this property?
Yes, we were.
And are you one of the individuals at that firm who has worked on this project?
Yes.
All right, would you please, before we get to the plan, the property is in the R1 zoning district, right?
Correct.
And within the R1 zoning district, single-family dwellings are permitted by right, correct?
Correct.
All right. Would you please take a look at this plan that is marked as Exhibit A7? Are you familiar with that plan?
Yes.
Does that plan depict the improvements that Ms. Gerhardt proposes for 219 Fulmer Road?
Yes, it does.
Would you please take us through what those improvements are?
Sure. The removal of the existing dwelling, the existing barn, and one shed outbuilding. Removal of a portion of the existing driveway. The construction of a single-family detached two-story dwelling, screened-in porches, a deck, an in-ground swimming pool. Reconstruction of part of the driveway. Construction of or installation of a stormwater management system, proposed grinder pump and force main to the existing sanitary sewer stub that was installed along Fulmer Road. And that is it.
What about potable water? How will water be provided?
Correct. And a well, proposed well to service the property.
Okay, now some of those improvements that you just described will be located on or through areas that are characterized as steep slopes under the zoning ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Are those steep slope areas shown on Exhibit A7, and if so, how?
Yes, they are. And so the various different shadings on our plan, you can see. The lighter shadings, they're 15 to 24% slopes. The darker shadings are 24% slopes and greater,
All right.
as established by on-site survey.
Let's take a look first, before we get into each of the structures, let's take a look at the sanitary sewer line. Can you highlight for us again on A7 where that sanitary sewer line will be? So that's coming off of Fulmer Road and running through steep slope areas up to the proposed dwelling, correct?
Correct.
And why is it necessary that the sanitary sewer line be located there?
Location of the existing sanitary sewer stub that was placed
Okay, so,
when the sewer main was extended. The location of the existing sanitary sewer stub.
so if I understand you, Mr. Cameron, there's an existing sanitary sewer stub right here, where I'm indicating on A7.
That is correct.
And did Ms. Gerhardt put that there, or did the township put that there?
The township.
So that's the location from whence sewer can be taken of the public sewer main, and that comes onto the property and then runs in this direction up to the house, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Is there any other viable location for the location of that sewer line?
We looked at if going up the existing driveway, down adjacent to the property line and down Fulmer Road to try to tie in. And we ran into, as side slopes along the side of the road, it's a very narrow road, has approximately a 1.5 to 2 feet of extended grassy shoulder area, and then it's steep slopes up. And then there's a utility pole approximately halfway down. We saw it problematic with talking with the site contractor that that route was not feasible.
Okay. So with regard to the other improvements that Ms. Gerhardt proposes, the single-family dwelling, stormwater management facilities, retaining walls, and the swimming pool area. Are there any viable alternative locations on the property outside of steep slopes where those improvements could go?
Not in my opinion.
And why is that?
The building envelope restricts the limitation of moving the house forward without disturbance of other slopes or trees. It's a very restrictive property.
Okay, so in your opinion, is the location, or are the locations of all of those improvements that are shown on the plan, are those the best and most viable locations on the property to place those improvements?
Yes, they are.
All right. Do you have an opinion as to whether the location of these improvements that are shown on A7 will have any adverse impact on the health, safety, and welfare of the community?
I believe they do not.
All right. Will the retaining walls that we're proposing be designed by a professional engineer?
Yes, they will.
And will that design then be subject to review by the township?
Yes, it will.
I'm going to show you what is marked as Exhibit A8, if you wouldn't mind taking a look there at the erosion control plan. Is what I've just put up on the board and what's marked as Exhibit A8, an erosion control plan which your company prepared.
Yes, it is.
Would you please describe for us how you propose to control erosion from construction activities and the fact that there will be permanent structures in steep slope areas?
Sure. Prior to construction, there will be an on-site meeting with the Township Engineer's Office. It's known as a pre-construction meeting outlining the various procedures required by the municipality. Tree protection fence will be placed. Compost filter sock will be placed along the perimeter of the downslope limit of disturbance. After that is complete, a construction entrance will be placed at the right off the chute of the existing driveway. Additional compost filter sock will be placed during construction for areas of other earth disturbance such as topsoil stockpiles, concrete washout areas. During the tail end of construction, geotextile material will be placed on areas of concentrated runoff and on all slopes 3-to-1 and greater.
All right. Now, a moment ago, you testified that in your opinion, there will not be any adverse impact on the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Is the fact that we'll be implementing all of these erosion control measures part of the basis for your opinion that there won't be any adverse impacts?
That is correct.
All right. Now, will these erosion control measures be subject to review by the township engineer?
Yes, they will.
And that'll be part of the permitting process for construction of the single-family dwelling, correct?
Correct.
What about post-construction stormwater management? How will that be addressed?
So at this time, we are anticipating a stormwater management system in this area. It's in the area of the existing barn to be taken down. There is a relatively flat area on the upslope side of that barn. Once the barn comes down, and prior to, we will have infiltration testing completed by an environmental consultant as part of the stormwater management requirements. And then we are anticipating an underground stormwater seepage bed, possibly pipe storage type stormwater system.
And will when designed, will all of these post-construction stormwater management facilities be in accordance with township ordinance To your understanding, Ms. Gerhards will work with a qualified builder to ensure that the structures at the site will be of sound engineering design and that footings will be extended into stable soil or bedrock, correct?
That is my understanding, yes.
You mentioned the driveway a moment ago. Would you highlight the driveway for us again? So right up there at the northern edge of the property, correct? Coming off of Fulmer?
That is correct.
All right. Will the driveway and parking areas on the property be designed and constructed to prevent accelerated erosion or the creation of other hazardous conditions?
Yes, they will.
All right. I'm going to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A9. It's also a township exhibit or a board exhibit. Have you seen that prior to this evening?
Yes, I have.
What is it?
That is the Township Engineers, Value Engineering, Inc. Review letter for the conditional use application.
And you've reviewed that prior to this evening?
I have.
Are there any comments or conditions in that letter that Ms. Gerhards cannot or will not comply with?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Now, you did not attend the Planning Commission meeting where the Planning Commission considered this application, correct?
That is correct.
That was Mr. Yaskowski?
Correct.
Did you and Paul have a chance to talk after the Planning Commission meeting?
We did.
And do you have an understanding that the Planning Commission recommended that the board, this board approve the conditional use application subject to compliance with the value engineering letter, Exhibit A9?
That is my understanding.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like the board to know about this particular application?
No.
Okay. I'll tender Mr. Camburn for any questions that the board or staff or Mr. Nelson may have.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Camber?
I have none at this time.
Yes. Go ahead, Kurt.
No.
Oh, okay. Just the current home that exists on the lot, the one that's depicted, was there basically, how old is that existing home? Do you know?
According to tax records, I believe it's in the mid-1800s.
And was any consideration given to using the existing home?
I cannot answer that question.
We have Tom Gavin, who is the builder who's going to be working on the project. Tom may be able to answer that question. Tom, if you'd like to be sworn? Sure. If that's okay?
Yeah, it would be fantastic if we can just have him sworn.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you, thank you.
Tom, why don't you grab this microphone and go ahead and be sworn?
Tom Gavin, Tomgavin. Yes.
Tom, are you familiar with the property that Scott and I have been talking about here, 219 Fulmer Road?
Yes.
And what is your relationship with the property?
Yeah, I've worked with
Mr.
Heidi.
Gavin, if you can just make sure you're speaking to the microphone. Yeah.
Yes, I've worked with Heidi since she purchased the property. We had extensively looked at the existing home.
Time out. Before you go any further, why don't you give us a little bit of your professional background so
Okay.
we know what role you play?
Yes, so I'm a home builder contractor in the area. I have built other homes in this township and other surrounding townships. Our business, we've been in business, family business since 1968. And basically our thing, our niche is custom single-family homes.
All right. And you heard the question from the member of the board about whether or not any investigation was done about whether the existing single-family home could be repurposed for future use, correct?
Yes,
And have you considered that question prior to your testimony here this evening?
yes.
And what conclusions have you reached?
Yes. So after I've looked at the home extensively, we did take a bit of time. The original part was built in the 1820s, but there were additions on the home much later than that. It was not really planned out very well, what's there. It's really piecemealed together. There's a lot of issues of leakage, mold, some structural issues. It would need a total rebuild of everything, which can actually cost more than building a new home. So, but we did take quite a bit of time to look at it and did look at planning it that way. And also just the accessibility of it for someone living in it. It's Heidi's retirement home, just for an aging in place, just to have the right property that you can live in.
So you actually did an investigation or inquiry into, rather than demolishing, repurposing the existing structure?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it a stone and mortar structure?
The original part is, yes. The two-story part,
Right.
that is, it was stone, stuccoed over. It's actually not, it doesn't have that much room inside of it, actually. It probably looks larger in the photo, but the walls are very thick. The other portion of it that was built in the, I would say, mid-1900s, that area has more room, but it's just a mix of different foundation, leaking, cracked foundation, just a whole bunch of different issues with it.
All right, and just a question related to, I don't know if it's for Mr. Gavin or someone else. It appears on the plan that your driveway is not located on the property. Is that, am I looking at that wrong, or?
If I could answer that, although not a witness, that is not wrong. So we don't have it marked as an exhibit, but there is a history of subdivision plans ultimately that produced this parcel or this assemblage. And there is a driveway coming off of Fulmer, which is physically located on an adjacent property. That driveway appears to have existed for quite some time. And we have reached the conclusion that there are easement rights over that driveway leading to the property. We will pursue formalization or acknowledgement of those easement rights. But again, we believe that those easement rights already exist. Probably would be a good idea to formalize them in something other than a subdivision plan. But again, I don't know that that's legally necessary.
Yeah, it would be troubling for us to, yeah, I have questions about having a driveway going across somebody else's deeded property, so, yeah.
Well, importantly, that's not a proposed driveway. That's an existing driveway.
Okay.
And we're proposing to use that existing driveway. We're not proposing to construct any new driveways over any adjacent properties. So if that driveway does not provide the access rights that Ms. Gerhardt believes it does, then there is no access to the property, which, again, we don't believe is the case. So a new driveway is not part of this application. The proposal is to continue to take access from Fulmer in the same way it has been for some time.
Was any consideration given to relocating the driveway so that it would lie on the property?
Scott?
No, it was not.
And just based on your knowledge and familiarity with the property and using our exhibits here, would that be feasible?
It could be, but not preferable because it would still go through additional steep slopes and wooded areas. But I just want to point out that this property was created by subdivision with that existing driveway currently there and was approved by the township many years ago with this driveway entering this property from the other property.
Thank you.
Okay, so the driveway that's there that you're going to use, it's not a new driveway, but it's not on the deed with the property you're doing now, but it was part of a subdivision that was approved. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there
So-
was an Aston subdivision prepared back in the 1980s. That was an existing driveway that went through to this house, but the property was created from a multi-lot subdivision with the property crossing over onto the other lot of the subdivision.
With the driveway crossing over.
Yes, I'm sorry, the driveway.
Do you know who the other owners of the lot are? My next question would be, have you addressed it with them? Because I'm assuming you're going to be trying to do adverse possession, presenting
No,
that?
no,
but
not
using
at-
this subdivision.
Not at all. It's our position that, and by the way, I'm not suggesting there's any kind of adversarial relationship at all.
Oh, that's just a word for it, but
But
yeah.
it's our position that having been shown on prior subdivision plans, having been shown on the plans that created this lot, that the existing access rights, that the access rights exist. They're not being proposed as part of this application. They exist. The former owner of this property took access to the existing home using that driveway. To our knowledge, the driveway has been there for quite some time, and we are not proposing to expand or modify that driveway in any way.
What steps and mechanisms are you going to use in order to quantify that that driveway will be a part of this plan?
Well, the driveway is part of the plan. The driveway exists. What I'm suggesting is that for belts and suspenders, it may be a good idea to have an actual acknowledgement, a declaration acknowledging that that driveway, that those easement rights exist. I do not believe that is legally necessary, but for good record-keeping purposes in the Recorder of Deeds office and for future title searches, it would not be a bad idea to have that memorialized, further memorialized. But I do not believe that that is legally necessary.
Okay. And then I just, other than that specific instance, when I looked at the plans, I see that the current home and everything else that you're doing, you're basically just replacing what's there. You're not creating a brand new footprint. You're already putting it kind of where everything already is.
That is correct, yes.
So there's no new footprint. You're already using a cleared area. And the only new actual footprint you'll be making is through the steep slopes with the sewer. And that wasn't anything you actually had any control over. So it looks like you're already using a footprint that's there.
Correct.
Trying to minimize
Absolutely.
any other movement of ground or removal of trees.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So that driveway on there, it doesn't supply to another house back there?
No. Does not.
Yeah, if you look at
That driveway is on the property of that other house.
Correct. So the other
There's a house in the back there that sits back in over the little street.
that is correct. So that driveway was constructed after the subdivision that created this lot was approved. This driveway always existed.
Yes, I know where it's at.
Yep.
So again, Scott, just for good measure, could you just take us through, because I've made statements about a legal conclusion, but why don't you just take us through the facts as you understand them that that legal conclusion is based upon? And you already did to some extent, but why don't you talk to us a little bit more about the history of the subdivision?
Correct. I believe John Aston's office created this, a multi-lot subdivision. I believe it was in the early 1980s that encompassed for this particular lot, this house and the barn, and the driveway existed, and the adjacent proposed lot was created. I think it's a flag lot going back where the driveway was placed on the flag lot property
Okay,
and not on this property.
okay, understood.
Any further questions from the board? Okay, Mr. Camburn, I do have a few questions for you, sir.
Okay.
The septic or the sewer line, is that gravity or is it going to be a grinder pump?
Grinder pump and force main.
You mentioned, I believe the current existing house is going to be removed, correct?
Correct.
And an existing shed is going to be removed, correct?
Correct.
And the existing barn is going to be removed, correct?
Correct.
And then I guess part of the old driveway, you're kind of configuring the driveway.
Correct.
Is there anything else that is being removed?
A few trees within the disturbed area, but that's it.
And there is a shed and then another building that are remaining, is that correct?
There's a foundation of an old structure. That's going to remain as far as I understand. And yes, the other structure that's further towards former road, that's going to remain.
If you look at Exhibit A6, there's actually numbers on the photographs at the bottom. This other structure that's remaining, is that photographs 4 and 6?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
In the photographs, there's 2 photographs, very small numbers at the bottom, page numbers. You see it?
I do.
Numbers 4 and 6. I think they're probably 3 or 4 pages in. Are those photographs of the structure that is remaining?
Yes, it is.
And do you know what this structure is going to be used for? Or?
I believe just an outbuilding,
And it's obviously it's going to be fixed up a bit?
my understanding.
Okay. And then the last photograph in this package, page 13, is this the barn that's going to be removed?
That is correct.
And is there a reason why the barn is being removed?
I believe it's the same answer that the primary structure, foundation, and the overall integrity of the building, from my
Okay.
understanding, is not worth reconstructing.
Mr. Gavin, I'll be asking you that questions later on, so. Thanks. New house, the square footage of the existing house compared to the new house.
I think Mr. Gavin would probably be better
That's
suited to
fine, we
answer
can
that.
do that. Mr. Camburn, I believe Exhibit 7A shows the elimination of the lot line between the 2 lots, is that correct?
That's correct.
So you're going to be combining these into one building lot as part of this project?
Correct.
And just to confirm, the steep slopes that are being disturbed, they're being disturbed by the proposed sewer line, correct?
Correct.
They're going to be disturbed by the new house,
Correct.
by the pool,
Correct.
and by the stormwater facility, the basin.
Correct.
Anything else disturbing steep slopes?
Associated grading
Okay,
for the whole project.
but no portion of the parking lot, new parking lots disturbing steep slopes?
A very little tail of the
Okay.
turnaround will be.
Will be. And the greenhouse, that's on flat
That is-
ground?
That is not.
Okay.
And the construction of the retaining wall is really, it's there to minimize additional grading down into the 24% plus slopes.
Okay. If you don't mind handing the microphone to Mr. Gavin, please? So regarding the barn, did you examine that structure also?
Yes, I did.
Do you have any idea how old the barn is?
I do not.
But is it being torn down for structural reasons or,
Yes,
okay, can you explain what those structural reasons are?
yes. So there are several holes in the roof which have allowed the weather in for many years. Probably about 25-30% of the floor system on the first floor has already caved in. There are several foundation piers that are deteriorating or leaning. And the front wall is actually leaning as well. So yeah, it is in very, very poor condition.
Thank you. And then second question, can you, the square footage of the existing house and the square footage of the proposed home? Do you know, if you know?
I honestly forget the square footage of the existing. But the proposed home is 3,600 square feet.
Is that bigger than the existing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Couple more questions for Mr. Camburn.
Scott does know I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
should have let him answer earlier. Scott does know the square footage of the existing, so.
Okay,
1,885 square feet.
great, thank you. And just to reiterate, to make it clear, when the 1980s subdivision was approved and recorded, at that time, the driveway that currently exists right now and the house that currently exists right now existed on the property at that time.
Correct.
And so the subdivision was created actually putting the driveway into the neighboring property.
Yes.
Lastly, the steep slopes that are being disturbed, are any of them man-made? They were created in developing the property prior, or are they all natural?
We believe they were, especially around the house and the barn,
Were man-made?
were man-made, yes.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any follow-up questions? Mr. Gill, do you have any redirect?
Mr. Cameron, have all of your answers to the questions posed to you this evening been given to a reasonable degree of certainty in the field of site development and land development plan preparation?
Yes, they have.
Thank you. No further questions.
Would you like to move your exhibits into the record?
Yes, I would. Thank you very
Okay.
much. I'll move A1 through A10 into the record. Thank you.
The board accepts all of 10 exhibits?
Yes.
All right. With that, we can, I almost jumped the gun. Mr. Gill, are you done concluding your case?
Yes, that represents the applicant's case in chief. Again, we think this is fairly straightforward. The existing house is obsolete. The examination has been done about repurposing it. That is not possible. This is a modest, single-family home proposed by somebody who is moving to the area from out of the state. Very much looking forward to making Lower Frederick Township her home, as you heard, from now until, well, she's going to age in place here. So she's very much looking forward to joining the community, and we hope the board will allow that to proceed. Thank you very much.
With that being said, does anyone wish to provide public comment regarding this particular application? Let the record reflect. No one asked to provide public comment. We can close the hearing at this point in time. With the hearing closed, does the board wish to deliberate at this time, or do you wish to deliberate at a later time?
I would choose a later time, actually.
Does anyone else have a preference, Terry, later? Yes?
That's fine. Later.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Gill, obviously you know, we have 45 days in which to reach a decision and prepare a written decision and forward it to you. We do have a meeting in 2 weeks, and then we have a meeting on the fourth Tuesday in April. I expect one of those 2 nights is when the board will take a vote and issue its decision.
Thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
Thank you for coming.
Can one of you give your packet to the court reporter, if you don't mind?
All right, while we wait for everything to clear out. Disclosure, we had an executive session this evening before the meeting to discuss personnel and real estate. And looking at the agenda here, we're going to be moving our next item, which was the discussion about the Village Mixed Use District zoning discussion, back to the end of the meeting with all the other discussion items so that we can follow through with some business items. So the next thing on our agenda this evening is authorization to advertise the boundary line ordinance. Peter?
Yes. So this is in conjunction with the artisan land development at the corner of Smith and Centennial that's located not only in our township, but also Perkiomen and Schwenksville Borough. During the review of this particular land development, it was determined that if we actually moved the boundary line between Perkiomen Township and Lower Frederick Township, it would make this a much more regular land development and conducive for future governance. As such, we entered into negotiations with the developer as well as Perkiomen Township and reached an agreement to move the boundary line so that the one lot in Lower Frederick Township is entirely within our township. Two other lots that were split between the townships are now entirely in Perkiomen, and the access road is entirely in Perkiomen. It just is going to make things a lot easier moving forward in dealing with the future residents as well as maintenance and care for the road. This project has received preliminary and, I believe, final plan approval. And at this point in time, all of the necessary exhibits have been prepared for this ordinance. These are exhibits, plans showing the current location of the boundary line, plans showing the new location of the boundary line when it's moved, as well as legal descriptions. All of these things would be attached to this ordinance. with its adoption, and then would be forwarded to the county and the state if the ordinance is adopted by both municipalities. So tonight, what I am proposing to do or asking is basically, this is the introduction of this ordinance to the public and to the board. If the board does decide to authorize advertisement, we would then advertise it for a comment period, which would be at our meeting in 2 weeks, and then advertise the actual enactment of the ordinance for the work session in April. The law, Act 41, that controls these boundary line changes has a little different procedure for the enactment of an ordinance, I think, to give the public a little more time to be familiar with it. In this particular case, we've been discussing this boundary line change for over a year. The only property owner that's going to be impacted is the developer itself. It's not impacting any other properties in our township or Perkiomen. Perkiomen has prepared a similar ordinance that mirrors our language, and they are going to be going through the same process of introduction, authorization to advertise, comment meeting, and an adoption meeting. Once both are enacted, there's some information we need to provide to the county and the state, and eventually it will become effective January 1st, 2027.
Is Perkiomen along, is their timeline similar to ours? Are they ahead of us, behind us?
No, they're right on.
We're on the same track.
We're both on the same track.
So
I think Perkiomen might have a little issue because they only meet once a month and not twice like we do. But at worst, we're going to be a month off each other.
Okay, so is your suggestion to tonight, next meeting, work session, get the ball rolling?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my recommendation. And it's just need a motion to authorize advertisement, to have the comment meeting 2 weeks, and then the adoption meeting at the work session in April.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I just have one question for you, Peter. The shading, or there's two different types of shading on MB-1. I just for my own edification, what's the difference between the two shadings? What do they mean?
Oh, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
You want me to take that one, Peter?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, okay, I just had to get to
So if
that.
you're looking at the first plan in your Dropbox, there's pink shading and green shading. So the pink shading is areas that are currently within Lower Frederick that after the boundary line change will be part of Perkiomen Township, and it includes the entire right-of-way of the proposed Revel Road. And then the green shading is area that today is in Perkiomen Township, but after the boundary line change will be in Lower Frederick Township.
The part that's confusing me is, see,
It's
there's,
gray.
Oh, no!
yeah, there's,
Well, then let me try it a different way. The two triangle-shaped ones to the right side?
Bigger triangles.
yeah,
The two triangles to the right side are, there you go. Thank you, Jackie.
okay,
The two
We
pink
have color
triangles.
too.
okay. I
The
guess
two
the
pink
part-
triangles will
yeah.
become part of Perkiomen, and the green shading, which is more like a parallelogram, will become part of Lower Frederick. And the areas actually balance each other out.
Yeah.
So no township gains more land or less land when this is all done.
Yeah, the actual part that was confusing me on our black and white diagram, we actually have two different types of shading for the green box down below, and that's what the part that was confusing me.
Okay.
But I'm fine now. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Marla, you have anything?
I have nothing, and I'm happy to make the motion if you're ready.
Okay. So, the motion before us this evening is to authorize advertisement of ordinance changing of the ordinance changing a portion of the municipal boundary line between Lower Frederick Township and Perkiomen Township. Can I get a motion? Supervisor Sachs makes the motion.
Sorry, I made the motion. I thought.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll, Supervisor Hexter makes the motion. Supervisor Sachs makes the second. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Motion moves forward unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda this evening is the bid award for the 2026 chip seal equipment bid. Carol?
Thank you. So this is for equipment operators and labor to apply what we call chip seal to township streets at hourly rates. There were 2 bids submitted in response to the invitation to bid and the advertisement for chip seal equipment rental. The bids were opened on March 17th, and the resulting tabulation was provided to the board. Asphalt Maintenance Solutions was determined to be the lowest responsible bidder with a bid of $42,358. And we are recommending consideration of award to Asphalt Maintenance Solutions.
I just have a basic question. When I looked at the bid tabulation, the last line, the one-way equipment mobilization, chip or roller lump sum,
Yes.
why such an enormous discrepancy?
My first thought was maybe they put the decimal point in the
The
wrong
wrong
place.
place, like a typo?
But it's repeated elsewhere in the bid documents.
So just to be clear, Asphalt Maintenance Solutions, which is the lower of the 2 bidders, priced that line item $1,250, whereas Asphalt Industries is pricing that at $21,250, which is the difference between them two.
Yes.
No,
Well, even if you move the decimal point
It
on.
doesn't make a difference.
No.
You still, Asphalt Maintenance Solutions is still
Still
the
the
lower
lowest.
bidder.
And I wasn't
Yeah.
even questioning that. I was just wondering if you knew
Yeah.
maybe why that was.
Yeah, it jumped out to me as well. I
Okay.
don't disagree with you. But I went through, not only did they put this in their pen bid pricing form, but we made them fill out another manual form with pricing, and they put it in that too. So
Okay, all right.
if they made a mistake, they made it repeatedly throughout the bid documents.
Okay. All right, does anyone have any questions, any comments? Okay, seeing none. The motion before us this evening is to accept the bid from Asphalt Maintenance Solutions, LLC, in the amount of $42,358 for the 2026 chip seal project equipment rental contract, and further authorize the township manager to sign all necessary paperwork to complete the contract. Can I get a motion? I'll make a motion. Supervisor Sachs makes the motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Jarena makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is the 2026 chip seal project authorization of CoStar's purchases of material. Carol?
Thank you. So you've just authorized the equipment and the labor to put down the materials. This is the purchase of the materials. So the township will purchase the materials using something called the CoStar's purchasing program. It's a state purchasing program where we can obtain state fund contract prices directly from the suppliers. So I've got for you estimates for the purchase of the emulsion for the chip seal, of the asphaltic material for the fog seal, and also for the aggregate that's used in the chip seal process. The aggregate is sourced from Martin Quarries. The asphalt emulsions, for the emulsion and fog seal is a different supplier. That's actually an AMS product. So, given the current events and changes and fluctuations in prices of oil, rather than just give you the flat number, I'm suggesting that we incorporate a not to exceed amount with a 10% additional rate on there, so that if oil prices impact the emulsion prices, we have some room to breathe. So for that reason, I am recommending tonight authorizing Purchase of the bitumen materials for the 2026 chip seal project from Asphalt Maintenance Solutions, incorporating a not-to-exceed amount of $124,200. And a purchase of aggregate from the Martin Quarries, Martin Stone Quarries, under the CoStarz contract for an amount not to exceed $29,000. Well, so they're under a CoStarz contract, and that's why I put an additional 10% in. I got the prices based on a certain asphalt index price. We were below that price the last time it was published. But I did put a factor in there, Supervisor Sachs, that would account for an increase in price. None of us knows where it's going to be exactly, but I tried to give us a room. I went back to 2022, which is the last time the price per barrel of oil went well above $100, and I checked against the price, the index price then, to figure out how this would work. Came up with a 10% adjust. If something else happens, we'll come back to the board and talk to you about it, but this would give us the ability to move forward on this project.
Yeah, based on your numbers for what we have budgeted, it gives us maybe like a $4,000 wiggle room. That's not a whole lot. So let's say that, events don't go our way and the prices go up above these not to exceed amounts, then you come back, we make a
Then
decision.
we come back with a discussion of whether we reduce what we're doing.
What we're going to
Or
do.
go over budget. right?
Okay, okay.
Hopefully, I don't have to have that discussion because I put this wiggle room in
Yeah,
there.
fingers crossed, thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions, any comments? Okay, not seeing any. So the motion before us this evening is to authorize the purchase of materials for the 2026 chip seal program through the CoStarz program, including bituminous materials from Asphalt Maintenance Solutions in an amount not to exceed $124,200 and an aggregate from Martin Stone Quarries in an amount not to exceed $29,000. Can I get a motion? I'll make a motion. Supervisor Sachs makes the motion. I will make the second. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Next is our Township Building Repair, floor drain and ambulance garage bay authorization.
Okay, so back in the fall or early winter, Plymouth Ambulance reached out to us to complain about a smell that was coming from their floor drain in their garage bay. They had TLC drain and sewer come out and video the line, showing that it was damaged. Tommy did struggle to find other contractors to come out and get us a quote, and he was able to finally get another one from the Hometown Septic Service. As far as the estimate from TLC Drain that has the 10/22 date, he did get an updated email from them with that same quote estimate of $7,677. The quote from Hometown Septic Services were $13,982. So there's going to be some labor involved digging on the outside and then running the line under the floor for that repair.
Okay, so did you happen to,
And I have not been able to locate an agreement as far as.
we don't actually have a lease agreement with them? Or a maintenance agreement?
I would think we have a
Nothing,
lease
right?
agreement somewhere. But I've not been able to locate it as of yet.
Okay. So as we've always understood it, they occupy that space down there rent-free. So
Yes.
I think we should probably potentially decide to get this memorialized sooner than later. And just as a question, have they offered to maybe kick in for any of this whatsoever?
Not for this particular project, no.
Not for this particular project, okay. Did they say what the cause of the collapse was? I would assume it's from the
Age.
Age,
Yeah.
okay. How old do you think that is, Tommy,
Original?
that pipe? Not how long, how old? Yeah. 94? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, knock yourself out.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what does this, it's a floor drain. What is the drain draining?
I'm assuming they wash the trucks in there. Right.
Okay, so it is going into a proper, okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
Thanks, Tommy.
So I guess my thought here is they're already occupying that space rent-free, which represents a significant township subsidy in addition to the taxes that we're already giving them. And we appreciate everything that they offer, but I think we need to engage them in a conversation about getting their circumstances down there memorialized and maybe some sort of cost-sharing agreement. Maybe we can put a cap on it if it's a certain amount. Now, do we have any line items in our budget to account for such a thing?
This will go under our building maintenance.
It goes right under our building maintenance, and this would just be maintenance, so insurance doesn't cover it or anything.
Correct.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions about this?
This is Marla. More of a question for Peter. Do we have anything like an MOU with the ambulance company? Is that something we should look into?
Well, I think that was along the lines of we were asking for if we had something in writing about their circumstances about being down there rent-free, so forth and so on.
Right. I was just saying if we don't have anything, maybe an MOU would be the way to go.
Well, we should have just a lease.
Yeah.
Or a lease? Okay.
Yeah, I would say yeah, I would have a lease with them.
And
And
it's, I
they,
think,
and at the same time, they probably would like it also, because right now, we could just tell them anytime we want, okay, your rent's gonna be $5,000 a month. So, it's nebulous for us, but it's also nebulous for them.
any other questions?
I guess the question I would have is, we are going to affect some kind of lease and a rental situation. We probably have to go through some process to establish what the going rate would be for renting such a space, right? So, I mean,
We don't have to.
okay.
If we want to continue renting it, giving it to them free, gratis, that's not a problem. We're not obligated under the Second Class Township Act to rent at the going, the going rate. And even if we are, those requirements usually are waived for any interaction with, organizations such as a nonprofit ambulance company or a fire company or that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, so. Sure. Oh, Diane, I'm sorry.
Just real quick, Diane Jurin, Zieglerville Road. Peter, when something's under someone's care, custody, and control, even though they're not paying rent, would they be responsible for repairs? I'm only thinking about when people rent an apartment, and if something happens between the apartment and the street, it's usually the apartment people that have to fix it.
But this is our building, this is a fixture in the building. Normally, the landlord's responsible for the fixtures.
Okay, so it's not their garage.
No, it's our garage.
Okay, great. I misunderstood that. Thank you.
And what I can say is, like, since I've been here, like, the garage door repair, they've handled. Like, they've taken care of that cost. They pay their own electric. So there is some building stuff that they pay for.
No, but I think getting something in writing and some sort of a maintenance agreement on who's responsible for what going forward. So, I mean, I have no objection to paying for this because it is our building. I realize that, but we really need to nail this down. And is this something that you can get a roll on, or Peter, do you think maybe it might be more appropriate for you to reach out to them and spell it out?
Yeah, let me reach out to them.
I think that's a good idea. Okay, so let's try and get something on a roll in the next 30 days might be the best idea. Okay, so having said that, there's no more questions, no more comments. There is a motion before us this evening to accept the quote from TLC Drain and Sewer in the amount of $7,677 for the floor drain repair at the township building, and further authorize the township manager to sign any paperwork to complete the project. Can I get a motion?
Also move.
Supervisor Orff makes the motion. I will make the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is the Community Day Planning Presentation. Jason.
Okay. So one of the things that we've talked about for the last couple of years or since I've been here is doing a community day. For this year's budget, the board did authorize us to do a community day. And so before we get anything started, I thought it was prudent to kind of go over like
I'm sorry, back up, what did you say?
it's in our budget to do a community.
Right, and let's be clear, we already discussed it just because it's in the budget.
Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I was getting to that. We thought it prudent to go through what our expectation as far as community day before we started putting anything in motion.
Perfect.
Okay, so an overview. This would be the first community day for Lower Frederick Township. It would focus on community engagement and family activities. And it would be based on a proven municipal model, which what I can say is I did 3 of these community days at one of my former municipalities. I actually wrote an SOP, standing operating procedure, for that event. So that's where I'm kind of based on a proven municipal model. Okay, as far as the event details, we do have a date. Chief has confirmed a location through the school district, and we do have a tentative time. So the date would be tentatively September 12th at Perkins Valley Middle School West, and the time of the event would be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Okay, the purpose, to bring residents together, highlight township services and organizations, provide family-friendly entertainment, and support fundraising and partnerships. This is the budget overview. So as I previously stated, we do have an expense budget in this year's budget of $7,000 with a revenue of $33,500. The revenue sources would be through sponsorships, vendor fees, and a potential silent auction. The event components, it'd be vendors and local businesses, food and concessions, children's activities. This would be live entertainment, which could be music, it could be a clown, balloon, magician, and community organizations. This would be the planning timeline. So outreach would be from March to April. Nailing down sponsors and entertainment would be the May to June timeframe. Logistics and marketing would be the July, August, and then the event execution would be in September. The benefits, strengthens community identity, supports local businesses and organizations, family-friendly recreation, and builds an annual tradition. So on that note, this would be taking the place of what we've been doing is the Fall Festival. And also, according to Chief, this would trunk or treat this year if the board would allow us to move forward. What I can say is the true goal is to try to get the schools involved, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, really any organization that's working within or around the town, the municipality, get their involvement, emergency services. We'd be trying to have a medevac, land. We proposed the fire company to do something. There'd be maybe potentially K-9, different things through the police. Yeah, we would ask that this ambulance be there. So really just one of those things where as a kind of like our Fall Fest, as a resident, you could go there and your children and yourself could be entertained without actually spending a dime if you so choose. And it would be similar to many of the community days that are happening around us already. It's not, I don't think we'd be really going too far outside the box, but we'd be trying to have a pretty significant vendor row, maybe like a car show. That would be all part of what we would be working out during the time frame to kind of nail down. And we would be looking to do this administratively, as opposed to a separate committee.
Does anybody have any questions? Comments? Sure. Yeah. Name, address. Right into the mic.
Susan Ruby, 111 Swamp Creek Road, Schwanksville. Does anyone remember Touch of Dutch Day that used to be in Schwanksville?
Oh, you're going back a long time.
Anyone?
I've only ever heard of it.
You've heard of it. So I'm wondering why we are going outside of Schwanksville to have a community day and not having it in Schwanksville.
Well, Schwanksville's not in Lower Frederick.
Lower Frederick's different than Schwanksville, and they have their community day. Our Fall Fest that we normally have, which is what I think they're trying to swap out here, is usually done at Foy Park.
Okay.
So we don't call it Community Day. I think we're trying to rebrand at this point. But what was Touch of Dutch?
Similar to the community day,
Right?
but it was within the town.
Yeah.
Keeping people that live in the area closer to where the festival was and not having to go out
I see your
to
point.
an outside location. I
Right.
mean, West is a great location because it's big and open, but I thought maybe there was something closer to the community,
Foy Park,
and that's it.
Coble.
Yeah, there was an event we did, I think, was it 4 years ago? I can't remember quite when. It was held at Coble Park. The trouble with, there's parking issues associated with Coble Park. Well, there's no parking at Coble Park for an event of this nature, and it required people to walk. Yeah, they were parking over at CVS and walking across the street.
And then in Foy Park, we have the Spring Mount. They let us park there and everybody just walks across.
Yeah,
But I understand your thought process.
yeah,
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
thank you.
Okay, so the expenses are 7,000 and you potentially assume you're going to get a revenue of 3,500, correct? Okay. And
Yes, that's the goal.
the goal. Okay, so who's doing all this heavy lifting? So you said we're going to do this administratively, so that would leave who, you and Becky are going to do all of this?
It's fully the police department, Public Works, like it's a,
All the sponsorships?
we've got, I mean, there's stuff in place, from a lot of the work that the Park and Rec has done with some of this stuff. It's really.
So some of the groundwork has already been laid. I can understand that.
And in my previous stop, a lot of that stuff was done by the administration, as far as getting the letters out and reaching out to entertainment.
So what I'm seeing here with this line up here is, it sounds like what we're doing at Foy Park. It's just, you want to do something bigger. Did you want to weigh in?
So what we have in mind are helicopters, bomb, SWAT, K9, car show.
The kit and caboodle, the whole thing. The whole thing.
With the assets in the township, Middle School West is the best place. There's parking, it's secure, there's no roadway, and we're able to block it, and we have open space.
Okay. I'm not against a community day. I think it's a great idea. I just don't know if we're ready right now for this size of event with the window that you're giving it, with the manpower that we have right now. Is this going to be like an all-consuming thing for?
It's not as consuming. I mean, we've got a template to work off of. It's not as all-consuming as it sounds. I understand that the first year would be the toughest, but with some of the stuff that Park and Rec has done, as far as with the businesses, the work that they've done, securing sponsorships and whatnot. There'll be a challenge, but it's not going to be like a 40-hour-a-week type of thing.
Like, this isn't going to affect everything else that needs to happen on the back office?
No. And I've worked this that in a similar situation, 3-person administration office. I've done this before. The day of event, certainly we will reach out to our volunteer groups and ask for some kind of bodies on the day of the event. But I do believe it's very doable. I have talked to the staff. It is something we're interested in trying to provide for the residents. But I won't allow it to affect our day-to-day operation stuff.
Jason, will this, is this a replacement for the Fall Fests?
Yes.
And trunk or treat?
Yes.
So it's going to replace Fall Fest and Trunk or Treat. Okay, Trunk or Treat?
Trunk or treat.
Okay. And that's, so will the Park and Rec, I know they're there, I know there's somebody here from Park and Rec. Will Park and Rec be utilizing their resources to assist in this?
Are they going to provide support?
My expectation is that it's going through the admin, and once again, we'll reach out to our volunteer groups. But we've got a plan, and the goal was not to run it through the Park and Rec, was to run it through the administration.
The Park Board does not know about this yet?
They're aware of the community day, because we talked about, as far as like, obviously Fall Fest was something they ran, Trunk or Treat was something the police department was sponsoring, so.
What come out of that, the Park Board?
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, no problem. So Jason did come to the Park and Rec Board, and we did discuss it, and we did support having a community day instead of the Fall Fest.
So how many things are not going to need volunteers? I mean, I think I kind of had an understanding at one point where things are pretty much just going to run themselves. Correct?
Every member of the police department will be on board and is excited
Okay,
for the possibility of this happening.
okay.
So where would you be looking to put this in September?
Yes, September 12th.
Yeah, we tried to stay off dates that Schwenksville's used, some of the surrounding communities, so that's kind of where we landed on the 12th. We didn't want to get too deep into October, because obviously a lot of things seem to be happening in October fest-wise, so the goal is to, also we're trying, you want to be able to have available vendors and stuff. So that's another reason to try to pick a date that where we don't have surrounding communities doing the same, something on the same day.
Okay, so based on this timeline here, you want to do your outreach, excuse me, pardon me. You want to do your outreach between March and April, and here we are. So you're looking for approval tonight, or?
It doesn't have to be.
The next
You guys, like anything, this is a discussion. This is new.
Yep.
And I understand that.
I think it's a great idea. I'm just a little nervous
I know it's
on the
ambitious.
scope and size.
I know it's
A
ambitious.
little overwhelming without a whole lot of detail, but,
Yes.
Yeah, this is Marla. I think it's about time we're doing this. All of our neighbors do it, and they've been doing it for years. And it's a great way to bring people out in the community and see what's going on. And the event we had, you were involved in that, Noel, was it 5, 6 years ago, where with the police and the fire company out at Coble Park?
yeah, that was a great success.
That was a
Everybody loved
great
that.
success, and there was a lot going on. So I see it as kind of that event means Fall Fest, maybe with a few other things. And we've kind of done all these bits and pieces before. It's just putting it all together. So it's not really completely new.
Right,
It's really
different
more,
location.
a little more coordination. And, I think we should just put a call out. People want to volunteer, get people to sign up and help. And, we can really make it a great event.
Okay, well, why don't you put this on the next agenda and we'll make a decision then?
Becky does have her hand up. Sorry, I know you can't
I'm
see
sorry,
it.
go ahead.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to say more so from a park board standpoint. I was spearheading a lot of that last year. And the reason why we had the discussion about supporting Community Day was because it was getting too big and we didn't have the volunteers as Noelle was working the crafts table. So it just has become, which is a positive thing, but it's just become a little bit too big for park board to be able to handle if we want to continue to grow such an event like that. So.
Fair enough, fair enough. And we have buy-in from the entire police department, of course, and Public Works. Okay. Counting on you. You got voluntold. There you go. All right. Yeah. All right, why don't you put this on the next, on our next agenda? You can ask another question, go ahead.
Yeah, just because I always worry about things like this, are there, given some of the activities you're considering, is there any concerns that we have to have related to insurance and so forth? Like you mentioned, what do you call it? A car show kind of thing. I don't know whether you need insurance when you have.
Is there like a liability or?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not, because we're doing these events, I mean, I don't know. Do you know how
I mean,
that
it's on
insurance
school
works?
property. It's not on township property.
Well, yeah, the school will probably
Okay.
make us sign something. We should obviously talk to our insurer and make sure our current insurance covers these sorts of things. And if not, see that it does. Any vendors or, any of our volunteers, they should be signing waivers.
Waivers.
Any of our vendors should be signing waivers. Certain vendors, we're going to expect them to show that they have proper insurance coverage. So,
Details, the
yeah.
details. Thank you.
Yes.
Call the insurance company and you put a rider on for that. We did
Yeah.
the fire company all the time.
Okay.
They do.
It's good to know. Thank you.
All right. Jason, for the next meeting, do you think you could have that insurance, like, reach out to our insurer? Then we can move forward with that, and give another little level of comfort there. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. Our next agenda item is policy fundraising for the township. Jason?
Okay, So this is something that came up with the December event, and obviously the events that Park and Rec has planned. There'd be a facet of this with Community Day. So one of the things that came out of that was drafting a policy. Since right now we don't have a single consistent standard one in place, this policy would fill that gap by putting clear safeguards in around transparency, accountability, and compliance with PA law. At a high level, this policy would do a few things. It requires prior approval for fundraising activities and clearly designates who is authorized to collect the funds. It establishes basic internal controls, like having 2 people involved in handling cash whenever possible and separating those responsibilities. It requires receipts and proper documentation for every transaction, regardless of the amount. It would ensure the funds are deposited promptly, generally within 72 hours. It would also allow for modern tools like PayPal or Venmo, but only if the accounts are set up in the township's name and properly controlled, not through any personal accounts. The policy also clearly outlines prohibited practices such as commingling funds or delaying deposits, and confirms that all fundraising activity is subject to an audit. Basically, overall, this policy would be about protecting the township, the staff, and any of the volunteers by making the expectations clear and consistent. So I have given this draft, I did send this draft to Peter on Friday for his vetting.
Quick look. I looked through it quickly, nothing jumped out at me as problematic.
Okay, so you're comfortable with it as it stands? Or do you want to?
Generally, yes.
Generally, it's okay. Did you want us to make a motion on this tonight, or do you just want us to look over it and then make a motion next week?
So we know obviously the Park and Rec Board made a request at the March 3rd meeting. I would think they'd be comfortable if you guys are okay with the policy. If you don't want to maybe adopt it tonight, adopt it at the 7th meeting, but if basically we know it's a go. I mean, I tried to fill in, like I said, I tried to fill in any of the gaps where we would have had some concerns. And
May I just jump in? So we do have the prom,
In May.
on May 30th, and we would like to start advertising it and also start collecting tickets or ticket sales with some guidance on how we can actually collect for the ticket sales. So, I mean, the earlier we can start doing ticket sales, the better off we are, but obviously it's up to you guys as to whether you pass tonight or wait until April 7th.
so one of the things we would still need to do is set something up. So if the board is interested in the policy, we could set certain things up that would need to happen anyway prior to, I'm sorry.
So when we done stuff at the firehouse, we would advertise out that we were going to have this here get-together. And we had tickets at the social room, okay? They would call the number, and our people in there would answer, and then they said, yes, we have tickets. And people would say, I want 5, I want 10, and they'd come there, and they'd pay for those tickets there, which you could do right here at this office.
At the township building.
Something quick.
Hi, this is Marla. Yeah, I kind of heard what you said, Terry. Your mic's not on, but I don't think that's really the issue. I think the issue is where the money's going to go. I think that's what this policy is going to take care of. And Peter, I mean, are you comfortable going forward with this? And then if we find glitches, we can revise it as we go, because we don't know how effective it's going to be until we start using it.
Yeah, yes, it's a policy, so, we can amend it every meeting if necessary.
And the other question I
that-
have is, sorry, under section 4, it says 2 authorized individuals. How do we decide who's authorized to handle money?
Oh, that was something I wanted to point out. Go ahead,
We
Terry.
have a person here that's going to be bonded, am I correct, in the township?
I'm bonded.
So specifically, there was language about,
Section 4 says authorized. So who would we consider authorized? I mean, do we have to designate them? I mean, do we have to come up with?
So the plan with that would be they'd be pre-designated
Okay.
prior to the event.
So it's the reconciliation portion of it, and it said it shall be reviewed by the township treasurer or the township manager, and I think for checks and balances, it probably should be both.
Yeah, yes.
Reconciliation shall be reviewed by the township treasurer and the township manager.
The other question I have is related to, excuse me, you're looking at technological tools to collect money. I don't know how long it would take a township to get one of those in place. I know the tools that are out there right now are easy to set up for a single human, but if you try to do it for more than, so I don't know what the process is. I don't know whether, sounds like you probably want that in place before you.
I don't think that if we could collect through cash and check for this event, I mean, obviously PayPal, Venmo, we all know that is convenient to a lot of people. But if we could at least start collecting with cash and check for these tickets, and maybe a Venmo or PayPal is worked at a later point.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that
I
would
think that's
be-
what Terry was alluding to.
Yeah.
Set something up here at the township building, they can come and buy
Yeah.
it here.
As
And
long
then-
as there's a plan, I think Venmo or PayPal or one of those tools, or whatever tools out there that a township could use, and that's the way we should go. I agree with Katie that for this event, if we don't have it in place, but I'd like to know how you plan to move forward on that. And, we don't have to answer that right now, but I at least need to know that you are planning to go that way, because.
Yes. I mean, that's really one of the cruxes is no one personal, or it's a township run.
Right.
The money goes to a township account. It's taking the personal liability, so to speak, out of that when it comes to the electronic transfers.
Yeah.
Or electronic charging.
Yeah, I got you. Thanks, Jason.
Does anyone have a problem with passing this resolution this evening? To get things on a roll?
If you make a statement that the electronic will be worked out at a future point, but all other things stand in place.
Electronic gets worked out. What language would I use other than electronic?
Tech payment,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah. Payment through a technology is to be worked out.
So the
at a
motion
later
would
date.
be a resolution establishing a fundraising funds receipt and handling policy for Lower Frederick Township, ensuring compliance with applicable Pennsylvania law, and to establish an electronic,
Yeah, to establish an electronic payment platform at a future, as soon as possible, at a future date or something like that.
does that work with everyone?
I just wonder if that's necessary. I mean, if it's established sooner or later, does that really make the resolution invalid? I mean, I don't know if that's even necessary.
I mean, if we don't have it in place,
We can't.
no one they can't use it.
Exactly,
So,
yeah, but that might be
until it's-
redundant, yeah.
So I guess to that point,
Becky
until
has a
it's in
question,
place.
too.
Oh, go ahead, Becky.
I'm just curious for clarification on, I understand the idea of accepting cash and check at the township building, but I guess I have two questions. Is Jason the only one to take that in and out, A? And B, there's a silent auction involved in a lot of these fundraisers. So how are you supposed to collect cash and check at a silent auction because it wouldn't be at the township building, would be my clarification question.
I think there's a lot of events that take cash and check.
Well, I think, could it be laid out in the policy how collecting cash and different types of things for the silent auction are handled at an event? Will that be outlined in the policy?
It
Okay.
is. That's why
I feel
you're.
as long as it's outlined
That's why,
clearly.
it's pre-designated the individuals who are handling the cash. It's kind of like both count, kind of like we would do back here.
Mm-hmm.
They would both count. The money doesn't go to, no funds go to anyone's personal residence. It comes back to the township building, secured in the township building, whether a cash box but it's two people handling, and that's the whole point of designating.
Right.
Yeah, that the whole point of designating that, so that way, you don't have to be bonded to receive the money, but that's what's built in here to control, as opposed to having too many hands in the pot and not knowing who those hands are.
So Becky, I think that would cover how we're going to collect money at the event for the silent auction.
That was my question. And then secondly, I can just already hear questions at Park Board. Janice had that question of, was she able to sell tickets at Bella? And I know we were curious about that. So I just can tell that's going to be a question. So I'm not sure if that's allowed, what's not allowed.
Okay, so you give her 25 tickets, and she's responsible for 25 tickets, or 30. And they're all numbered. I mean, we've done it for cycle get-togethers and everything else, and we have them all numbered. And you get, from 0 to 30, from 0 to 50. And then you come back with 25 tickets, then you have the money for the other 25. A lot of outlets do that. Fire companies, you're responsible for those tickets at first.
So that would be acceptable that two people weren't there selling, but we could still sell the ticket with just one person present as long as we can account for the money for the ticket. Will that be in the policy?
This is Marla. I think the policy says that you have to provide a detailed receipt for every sale, so that I think that'll handle it.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's really important.
Cash, check, electronic.
Yeah, and Terry, if you can turn your microphone on, because I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. I mean, you have a strong voice, but it's tough.
So cash handling procedures, cash collection should be counted by at least two authorized individuals, with individuals sign verification of amount collected. Cash shall be secured in locked container and safeguarded at all times. Township funds shall not be taken to private residence or unsecured locations. So does that kind of put the kibosh on selling tickets outside of the township building?
You have tickets you can get that are perforated, that you rip one piece off, the numbers are on both ends. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
I guess that's my question is like, what's the difference between selling a ticket and collecting money here versus the silent auction? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. It's just you're selling different things essentially, if that makes sense.
No problem. So do we want to kick the tires on this a little bit more and circle back to this at our next meeting? Or you?
I think the park board really needs to get going. There are events in May, and the next meeting is in April.
Wouldn't the selling tickets at a different location be covered under cash handling for the silent auction? Wouldn't that be the same thing? Like Becky, just, right? So we would just follow the policy, whatever is in here for cash handling procedures. So if Janice sells tickets at Bella Brew, cash collection shall be counted by at least two authorized individuals. So she would collect cash for them, bring it to the township building, and two authorized individuals would count the money.
Well, the other thing was having the tickets numbered, isn't that, like, if you give her 30 tickets and she's responsible for 30 tickets?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's like a weekend and something, I mean, we do have our drop box that we use for our sewer billing and stuff, so it would keep it out of the private residence.
What's the next resolution number?
That'd be 08.
08. And like you said, we can tweak this every meeting, but I think just get this going and we'll make a course correction as we go along here.
I mean, you can get it going, or if you want to put it off, obviously, Park and Rec has been doing this for years without a policy. And they can just keep doing it. So, if you feel like.
Under the
it's not-
guidance of the resolution that we have before you.
Yeah.
So,
In good
either way.
faith.
Yeah, my preference would be, even if it's not perfect today, to go forward and have them operate under this resolution rather than
Yeah,
not.
let's wrap that up. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions or comments about this? No? Okay.
I have one question. Jason, can I swing by tomorrow just to make sure I fully understand it before the park board meeting?
Afternoon.
Okay,
My morning to lunchtime is occupied.
cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
May I keep this, or
Yes,
do you
you
want this
may.
back?
Yes,
Okay,
you may.
thank you very much.
Okay, so the motion before us is to pass Resolution 2026 R08, establishing a fundraising fund receipt and handling policy for Lower Frederick Township and ensuring compliance with applicable state Pennsylvania law. I will make that motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Jarena makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passes. Okay. Next on our agenda is the Township Building Sign discussion. I
So
believe that's you.
this we can put, if you guys want to put this one off. I would love that. Yes, let's table the
Let's
signs.
table this
You
one.
guys have the information.
Because, yeah, and it's actually pretty comprehensive, and this would have gone really quickly, but I think that we have some other things that we want to
Well,
get
we
to
also-
that are going to take a little bit more time.
We also have John on who is hung out.
And we have John. I'm sorry, John. Hi, John. I'm sorry. I kicked you off the beginning and moved you to the end. I apologize. Now, as far as the public works with the mini excavator and the dump truck, I definitely would like to talk about these for sure. But we don't have anything back from Mr. Peck. But the one you, and we didn't get into a chance to look at it. So, having said that, I do want to confirm one thing was the lease purchase that we got from Little's. Am I understanding that they're charging 0 interest? Is that what I'm saying?
No.
Is this a 0? Okay, so we don't actually have really concrete financial terms yet.
It's in there. If you go through my summary, you're talking about if we rent to own.
Yes.
So if we chose the monthly option, the total over 6 or over 5 years, the total would be 131,086.80, which is about 5.5%. The yearly option.
Okay, all right, I see what you're saying. All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's interest built in there. And the stuff I got from Daryl was, he did that at about 5%.
Can we digest this and circle back? Can we look at this?
Yes.
Later? I definitely want to look at it, though. Okay. All right, so we're going to table that one as well. I'm sorry. What do we want to tackle first? Do we want to do village mixed use? I guess we'll do that. Yes.
Sorry, just for clarification, when you say table, these will be at our next meeting in 2 weeks.
I would assume yes, unless our actual business agenda is as expensive and extensive. And this is all for informational purposes. That's all it is right now.
Right, but just that
It
these-
wouldn't hurt to move it to the next work session.
That's what I meant, because these probably are
Oh,
not.
the next work session. Yes, for sure.
The mini excavator would, if we were going to pick one, the mini excavator, because at some.
That one's
the
a little
guys-
bit more
we're gonna
time
decide
sensitive.
If we're going to, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. All right.
But the dump truck, if
We'll
it's
make that
another
one for
month,
sure. We'll make that one happen for
we
sure.
can do the work.
Okay.
So the mini excavator would be the only one that's got a little more pressing time.
I got you. Okay. All right. So, all right, so we're going to go to our village mixed-use zoning district discussion. How would we like to start that off? There we go. John, did you want to kick this off, or?
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm
be
happy
great.
to
Thank you.
start this off. So I was asked to present tonight, as I understand, to kind of get you up to speed on what the Planning Commission has been studying as far as the village mixed-use zoning district
Before you go any
goes.
further, I'm sorry, John, there's probably some people here who don't know who you are. This is John Miklos.
course.
He's from Montgomery County Planning. Go ahead, John.
Thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm a community planner, and I've been working with Lower Frederick Township since 2019. So this discussion has a few slides that I put together. With the time being what it is, I'll kind of speed things along. please feel free to you know, stop me, ask any questions as we go through. Uh, can everyone see the slides now? All right, great. So for background, if anyone, the Village Mixed Use District is uh, right in the center of the township, uh, in the Zieglerville Village area. So you can see it on this map, the township, right there in the center. And it was adopted back in 2005. So it's been a part of the township for the last 20 years. Zooming in, you can really see how it is defined there by the village area, Goshenhoppen Creek on one side, Swamp Creek on the other, and it stays really close, not really going past any of the major intersections around the village area, just going out from the traffic circle. It's only about 3% of the township's whole area. It's 146 acres total. It's mainly focused in its regulations on preserving the existing building character of Zieglerville and accommodating new commercial uses. There's also residential components that are permitted in the current ordinance, uh, but they're kind of an add-on, as we'll kind of get into. And as part of the 2022 Township Comprehensive Plan, we looked at just what the zoning allowed for, and how much could theoretically be accommodated by the undeveloped land in this zoning district. And it amounted to roughly a quarter of the whole zoning capacity of the township. So it really is set up as kind of the center of activity in the township, both commercial, especially, but also residential to some extent, even in its current form. And so just looking at it overhead, you can see that the crossroads is the center of the village area and the center of the zoning district. But there are substantial parcels within this district that are undeveloped. It's not like the R1 district, for instance, where there are large parcels of farmland, woodland, undeveloped land that we really don't want to see developed. This is an area that is set up more as kind of an intended place for development. If it's going to happen anywhere, we think it's best that it would happen here. So to give you the whole history here, back to the beginning, there was conceptual work that MCPC started with the township going all the way back to 2003, kind of drawing out what could be zoned for, to create this zoning district. But our current conversation really kicks off, first of all, with the comprehensive plan in 2022, setting up goals for the village area. Economic development came up as a priority, as did kind of some of the goals that the townships held for a while regarding, linking up development with road connections and walking connections. We built on that with the sidewalks and trails connections planning last year. But just before that started, we, as a planning commission, with the Township Planning Commission, took a look at the land use that's set up in the current zoning ordinance, and just exactly how that fits together with the village as it's built, where the opportunity sites are. So we highlighted some issues coming out of that, and in our current discussions starting back in the fall, we picked up on those, looking at the zoning. So as it's been conveyed to me, the top concerns for the Zieglerville Village area, this village mixed-use zoning district, started with the commercial uses and some of the parking standards around that, some of the dimensional standards for the village shopping center conditional use that's in that zoning district. Um, Residential development, the residential component of the mixed use district was also brought up as being kind of out of sync with the rest of the township. Um, Kind of related to that was this discussion of traditional design, the village character, how to really, promote that. Um, and open space standards were also brought up, among other things. So I did research. I put out a couple of memos in September and November, presenting my findings and making some recommendations. The Planning Commission weighed in on those recommendations pretty much one by one. So key things, starting with the parking that I found was that the current standards for the uses that are central to the village mixed use, these commercial uses, is that they tend to be a bit higher than what is required in peer townships or comparable municipalities. And the way that they're set up as a ratio, they're often in reference to the gross floor area, kind of the total area of the building, rather than, for instance, the areas that are serving customers. Um, Additionally, looking then more towards an eye for this village shopping center, which features a supermarket as kind of an anchor business. Um, there was concern that the standards that were made 20 years ago might no longer really match what the market is, um, and how things are developed, how they're being used. Though there was concern also, even as we question the size of the business, that it's currently a maximum size of 50,000 square feet. Um, Whether or not the parking standards were too high. So uh, I looked at the Redners and Red Hill over 4 different dates at different times of day, comparing the usage of the parking lot to the recorded activity throughout the day on those given days of the week, uh, and compared that with the number of spaces that their zoning requires and the number of spaces that are provided there, finding that the requirement is about 240 parking spaces, depending on how the building's actually arranged internally. Um, they provide 140 spaces, and at no time that I surveyed it did they have any more than 51 cars parked there. So on these kind of typical days, typical times, uh, parking seemed to max out around 50 to 60% usage at peak times. So um, rather than, set a requirement based on the busiest days of the year and have a lot of empty parking every other day, this is, kind of presenting in a comparable town for a, sort of smaller grocery store, um, you know, just how much parking we might expect it to need to try and calibrate our expectations. So another question that was raised was regarding the sharing of parking. Um, it was relayed to me that the current shared parking standards are a little hard to administer because they are more discretionary and ad hoc. And so what I provided as a recommendation is a standard shared parking calculation table. This one here is very typical. It's actually exactly what they have in Schwenksville. So this is basically taken from standard guidance documents, you know, where the expected activity at different times of day, different days of the week, for different types of businesses, different types of uses, uh, you know, is compared. And so the compatibility of sharing and reducing their parking requirements overall can be assessed.
Hey, John, this is Dan Orff. I just hate to do this, but I want to question if we're going for a village concept. I mean, that's what everybody, whenever I knock on a door and ask people what they like about the township, they always indicate they like the village look and feel of our township. And I'm not quite sure when the decision was, or how it was decided that a supermarket was going to be key to our village, or whatever, what we construct as our village in Lower Frederick. But just doing some, based upon the data you provided, there's a fair number of people who will be closer to supermarkets. If they were to plunk this thing down in the middle of town, middle of Zieglerville, there's a fair number of people who would be closer to supermarkets that are outside of the town, outside of the township. Basically, there are, based upon the information you provide, there's like 15 supermarkets less than or equal to 8 miles away from the center of Zieglerville. So I guess where I'm coming at is supermarkets by their very nature are car-centric. And it was my understanding that part of the village concept was to make it more pedestrian-centric. So, you know, I don't know whether that's, basically, I do believe that you could do the village concept without a supermarket and go with smaller, some other type of retail that's smaller, has less of a footprint, and doesn't demand a lot of car traffic. Because, one of the problems we have is if you add a supermarket, and even the smallest size you've mentioned, if people are going there and coming from there, we already have traffic issues on we only have 2 arteries in this township, 73 and 29. So I'm wondering if the premise of building everything off of a supermarket is sacrosanct, meaning is it the only way we can do this? Can we take another look at this and go for smaller, more and smaller retail and, kind of like, which would be pedestrian focused, and come at it from that vantage point, as opposed to looking at it strictly from this supermarket concept. I mean, your diagram shows there's a Landis right over.
It's 9 stores within 3 to 8 miles.
Yeah.
So, John, I think you were kind of going to dive into some parking minimums, and I read all of your information, and I read your data and your recommendations, and I agree with all of them. I think what Dan is trying to say is that maybe the concept of a supermarket doesn't fit a small town character and a small scale business and institution that our legislative intent actually says. So maybe to circle back and not to discount the information that you provided us, but a lot of the data that you did provide is actually telling us we might not need a supermarket.
Sorry, this is Marla. Could we have him finish the presentation? Because feel like we're getting a little off track, and then address some of these issues when he's done.
Sure.
Marla, I thought the issue was big enough that we should, while we're talking about it, bring it up. But I'm fine if we go through the rest of the presentation.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you. I want to thank Dan for bringing up those points. Those are excellent points. And we do want to, honor the intent of the zoning district. I mean, it is set out that way for a reason, reflecting a community vision at the time that it was created, and I think very clearly affirmed going forward in previous discussions in the comp plan and planning commission meetings. Um, so the village marketplace that in, is included in the village mixed use in the VMU, uh, and is the only way that a grocery store could be built in this zoning district, is a conditional use option. So it is a type of development that can only be created by conditional use. Smaller types of commercial, residential, mixed use are permitted in this district by right. So they are kind of given priority in that way. Um, and so if there is any desire to keep it in, uh, more of a marketplace, a grocery store, not necessarily a supermarket. I don't want to emphasize this thing as something having to be big and out of character with the village. Um, then we are well within our power to adjust the design standards, parking requirements, the development standards, uh, you know, that it would have to adhere to. We can shrink the footprint, specify, designs, guidelines for it, requirements of the design, or even set a smaller maximum size. Um, I would somewhat differ in my interpretation of the mapping of the grocery stores in the area. With the closing of the Landis in Perkiomen Township, which was previously the nearest grocery store to this area, there is now no longer any grocery store within, I believe it was nearly 4 miles, that it's within the county, one of the largest gaps in grocery store coverage anywhere in the county. It kind of stands out. Um, so we all want to reduce driving, reduce traffic, and I'd only point out that driving to more distant grocery stores is still driving through the township. Um, this the thought of potentially bringing one to Zieglerville, uh, you know, seems viable given the local population and how it compares with the local populations in other areas where grocery stores are located, especially where grocery stores are clustered. That there are several located close together. That this would bring trip time a lot closer, to the Lower Frederick residents. So uh, I'm receptive to feedback on how the village marketplace may be, tailored to better suit the needs. But if I continue here with just where we've come to so far, the recommendations include changing the parking ratios to reference sales floor area or customer service area rather than just the gross floor area of buildings. Reducing the supermarket parking requirement so that that particular use, supermarket, grocery store, the terms are interchangeable in this case, is lower. And so we're not requiring quite so much. And Planning Commission, upon seeing the study of Redner's, even suggested that this could be further reduced, though We have other means for reducing parking available to developers in the Village Mixed Use District. Uh, so related to that, reducing the Village Marketplace parking requirements to one space per 250 feet of gross floor area, since that is a combination of multiple commercial uses, that these tenants would be configured differently and may consist of different uses. So retaining that gross floor area reference for the combined use here. And the last recommendation from the second memo was adopting shared parking calculations table. Residential uses were also brought up as an issue or an area where the village mixed use district might be revised. So noting that right now there are only 3 residential types, residential uses that are permitted in the VMU by right. Single-family detached, conversion of an existing single-family detached dwelling into a duplex, or dwelling units in a mixed-use building within a very limited footprint and no more than 4 in a building. And the standards that apply to residential types in the village mixed use don't really match up with what we see for any other zoning district in the current zoning. So single family detached home may be built in the village mixed use where they are allowed to the extent that they are allowed in a development on lots of no less than 15,000 square feet in the Springmount areas of R3 district and the R4 district, minimum lot size is 10,000. In the neighborhood lotting option in R1 and R2, those lots would be required to be 12,500 feet. So the differences are not huge, but they don't correspond well with the village character and what is kind of the existing development in Zieglerville. So there was recommendation to add uses from the R3 district as permitted uses in the VMU to provide more options, to provide a greater range of sizes that would be available for people looking to live in the village area. The Planning Commission added to this recommendation a single use from the R4, the 2-family semi-detached, kind of an uncommon type, but adds another option. There was a further recommendation to modify the requirements, the dimensional standards for development to better reflect the village character, including, the natural variation that we see in the historic development, where lots can be wider, narrower. We also recommended revising the standards for the density minimum lot size so that these types, which would be recommended to be added, better match what is permitted in neighborhood lotting and in the R3 district, where these types are seen elsewhere. Village mixed use, by its nature, being in Zieglerville, kind of sits at that boundary between the more developed eastern portion of the township and the larger expanses of the R1 district, where neighborhood lotting development is possible, and where we've seen some come through. And so matching up with neighboring areas, kind of balancing those two, that transition between them. And the last recommendation there is considering increasing the minimum setback distance. There's a setback distance for residential development that is in the VMU to keep it from being or occupying the major frontages, where we generally want to keep more of the commercial uses. Uh, so increasing them to kind of better reflect the depth of lots is a suggestion. So this table then is excerpted from a marked up version of the VMU zone district from the ordinance draft uh, to show how those uses and lot size standards are combined. So single family detached lot matches up with the requirements of the neighborhood lotting, and the other uses taken from other districts reflect the dimensional standards that apply in those kind of source districts. When talking about the commercial uses, the supermarket and the village marketplace development option, um, what I found was that new supermarkets are commonly in the range of 55 to 65,000 square feet. So it's not unheard of that something kind of at the upper end of what the village mixed use allows could be built, but that they're generally a little larger than that. When talking about Giant, Acme, Weiss, um, the less common grocery stores that kind of market themselves as being a little more premier, they're even larger, closer to 100,000 square feet. Whereas budget grocer chains were commonly found to be in the range from 20,000 up to 55,000. So the current ceiling of 50,000 square feet uh, certainly leaves the door open to a lot of options. And while we don't feel that, you know, grocery stores, any market use really remains viable if it's much smaller than that, um, it could be still considered possible. So the recommendations include revising the standard for the village green, the central common area required of these village marketplace developments to better integrate it with the required open space for residential development in a mixed use development, um, and make it a more functional space. Uh, and the second recommendation was to retain the current supermarket size standard, though I, of course, am open to your guidance on that, your directives. Uh, there was also discussion of small business and how to promote small business, encourage small business over franchise business, for instance, or chain business in the village. One recommendation was to consider reducing parking requirements for small commercial establishments or exempting the first 500 square feet from parking calculations. So small businesses, especially those in existing buildings, historic buildings, um, you might have an easier time providing for their parking requirement if it were reduced or potentially eliminated for a really small business. Um, and another recommendation included adding live work units as a type of permitted use in the VMU. Another issue raised was on the conditional uses list. There's a discretionary element there, kind of a catch-all, you know, listed as uses determined by the Board of Supervisors to be of a similar nature and impact to the uses listed in this section. It's generally my advice that if discretionary or catch-all language is a cause of concern, that shifting to a more definitive list without those kinds of uh, extra provisions is the best way to clear it up. So um, that's pretty much where we've come to at this point. Um, I'd open up for questions, just noting that we had a discussion with the Planning Commission um, that sort of asked for follow-up regarding um, the potential to explore these ideas of providing design guidance or design requirements, particularly where the concept of traditional neighborhood development might provide guidance structure for better commercial development, better mixed-use development, so on.
Um, thank you very much, John. This is Marla. A couple questions and a couple comments. I'm going to beg to differ with you, Dan. I would really like to be able to run down to a nearby store and get something that have to drive 20 minutes each way. I think maybe if we call it a grocery store instead of a supermarket and reduce the size, that could handle that. Um, I also wanted to address something we talked about last time about prohibited uses. I would like to be more specific about prohibited uses. We talked about a crematorium. We talked about drive-throughs, although if there's a bank, you probably would have to have a drive-through. But maybe for John, if you can think of some other things we probably don't want there that we can specifically prohibit so we don't have unwanted things going on. And like, for example, do we want a car dealership there? Do we want vehicle repair shops there? There are probably some things that would not be appropriate there. And I'm also in favor of having a really wide variety of housing. I think that's a huge need. And if people are going to be walking there, smaller housing units would be ideal. Um, and the other question I have is, two other questions is, how can we encourage non-franchised businesses, and how do we incentivize builders to build things that fit in with our village character?
Well, to your question of building character, um, providing design guidance, either through requirements, though I know that can be tricky and sometimes unpopular, or through a guidance document, guidelines, um, could provide one way, characterizing the type of development that is representative of Zieglerville, but also the greater like Lower Frederick and Central Perkiomen Valley, historic character as a whole. Um, the materials, the design features, orientation, all these things, could help a building to fit in, even if it were built new. And sorry, your other point was about encouraging small business. Um, this is one area where I confess I think zoning isn't always the best tool, and so I'm a little out of my depth in the full range of ways that you can support small businesses. But our Commerce Department is really re-energized and focused on building up our local kind of main street economies. Um, they've got a new initiative which I think might help out with just this sort of community. So I'd be happy to reach out to them or put them in touch. They do volunteer themselves to make presentations to municipalities if this is a priority of the township to pursue this small local business as an economic development strategy.
I'll defer to my colleagues about whether we want to do that. But lastly, I mean, do you have ideas about lists of prohibited uses? Because I think that it is too vague. And I think we need to, as you say, eliminate that and make it clear what is acceptable and what is not, rather than say, oh, we can always change our mind. We can always decide.
Okay.
So, John, one of the things I noticed is the language I think we have to get more definitive and more prescriptive. If we're going to go this route, we would need to be more prescriptive in the language about how things basically look and feel, because the way this is worded are, characteristic of the buildings that are existing, bulk scaled. I mean, we have to have a little bit more definition. Our township, Lower Frederick, about 10 years ago, did an inventory of all homes that were built from 1940 and earlier. If we could access that database, I know you couldn't find it, but I know it was created. I did see it once. And use that as a starting point for getting ourselves a collection of standards by which we could make Zieglerville, if we're going to add to Zieglerville, make it so that it looks like Zieglerville, not like a collection of buildings from now that were added. We wanted to look more organic than like 25 new building units that were dropped into the township, into Zieglerville. That just wouldn't look right. I mean, I know there's other zoning standards that insist that you can't have the same building right next, and the same structural box right next to another. One unit can't look like the one that's next to it or the one on the other side of it and so forth. So I think we need to have, the words I use, we have to be more prescriptive and give more definitions on all these things that are left up to interpretation, because otherwise we're going to have a developer that's going to come here and say, you know what, I like the idea of, say, twin houses, so I'm going to give you 35 twin houses. I don't think that's what we want. At least I hear from the residents that they're looking for us to have something that models itself after the village we're used to.
Something that says village mixed use.
Yeah, and so there's I have a whole bunch of notes on the document that was provided. I'm not going to, in the interest of keeping everybody awake and alive, I'm not going to read them all. But, and it goes throughout the whole thing. Like, it talks about the same issue for demolition. You can demolish a place and then build something that doesn't look anything like it because of the way the language is written. So there's a number of things that, if we really want a village, if we really want it to be something unique to Lower Frederick, which is what I think I hear from people. They want it to be unique to Lower Frederick. They don't want it to be, we don't want to see a strip mall or anything like that. And there's
Just the same as everywhere else.
Yeah, we don't want it the same as everywhere else. So I understand, I'm not, what do you call that? Undermining the work that anybody, sometimes you need to see what's created in order to know that, okay, that's not fitting the bill. Let's take a step back and see if we can come up with something that's actually implementable, but will provide the township and the residents that are here. These things should be with the people here in mind, not the people who aren't here yet. I'm worried about the people who live here, not the people who haven't moved here yet. Once they get here, then I'll worry about them too. But yeah, so I think we need to take a step back and look at this and see if we can come up with something that's closer to what the people in town have kept continually told me they want, which is something that lines up with the village that already exists.
Yeah, Dan, I think what you're talking about is what I brought up earlier is design standards. What should the sidewalks look like, and what should the, basic, when we're talking about some of the other things, how does it going to fit in? You don't want some houses looking modern and some houses looking something else.
Well, I went to the architectural aspects to align with the buildings that have been built before, even if they're modern I mean, they can be perfectly modern in size. And this is what a number of communities.
Sorry, so you want them to look like the 1940s or the 1840s, or what are you aiming for?
I'm looking for a village that looks like it evolved as opposed to was a brand new revolution where they were all dropped in at once. The key feature you see about villages that are built over time is you see a collection of houses that vary based upon, look and style and feel relative when they were constructed, all right? It doesn't mean that you're building them to 1890 standards, but you can build them to 2026 standards, but have a basic look and external look that's characteristic of a village that was constructed.
You want to avoid the plastic place at Vinyl Village look.
Excuse me?
You want to avoid the plastic
Yes.
place at Vinyl Village
Yeah,
look. Okay.
that's it. Yeah.
The one thing I did pick up, I don't know if anybody else did, but when I was, when I read through the village mixed use code, it always has this intent to focus on everything that's on 29 and 73. And the language should be expanded to include any kind of development within that designated village mixed use area. It says, you shall comply to everything on 29 and 73 to do these things. And it's like, well, what about everything behind it? Make it more inclusive. And I've talked to Dan a couple times, and I've talked to Marla. The village marketplace conditional use, I don't know, it seems to me to make sense so that we don't end up with a anchor store look, the same place as everywhere else, that we just eliminate the village marketplace as a conditional use altogether with the freestanding other buildings and a grocery store of 50,000 square foot, and just say conditional use for a grocery store or a market and cap it off at a size. Is it 15,000? Is it 20,000? I mean, I know when I was door knocking, I got a 50-50 mix of people who said that they wanted to have one and people who said they didn't. So I figure let's split the difference. If somebody wants to come in and put in a grocery store for 15,000 square foot, perfect, then we get one. And if nobody wants to, well then fine, there's no market for it, then we'll wait until there is.
Yeah, and actually, John, you mentioned when you were talking about how the variations in the styles of the houses, you mentioned you wanted houses that were reflective of the entire, the area, the Perkins and, what you'll find in our general vicinity. And we're blessed by having houses that date back to the that were built in the 1700s, 1800s, and 1900s.
Very true.
Yeah, so I don't want to see us sacrifice our past to put together a future that, we can not, you don't want to replicate those looks, but you can be consistent with those looks and styles and mix them within the village area.
You just keep in mind that sometimes that's expensive, which is why you usually end up with plastic place at Vinyl Village.
Yeah,
But we should be
yeah.
looking at those, I agree with it, but we should be looking at the idea that well, if this is what you're going to build, how about we find the incentive that makes them do what we want them to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and can I back up a second to what Dan is looking for and what I mentioned? Carol, I think Carol's, I don't see you. But I believe, Carol, you have done work on design standards in other places. Can you comment on this topic?
I've been involved in other municipalities that have design standards. I would be most happy to share them. I did not develop them. They were developed by a planner. But I'd be happy to share an example. I can send it to Jason and he could share with the board.
Oh, and get that out this week, that would be
I've
great.
written design standards.
You have.
Thank you, Peter. I think it would be helpful for us to have some examples, and if they have some pictures to work from, I think having something to start from is always easier.
Okay, John, did you get enough?
Yes, I think I've got guidance to go on.
Yeah.
And sorry, there's one more thing that I asked that we haven't talked about is things that we should prohibit. I think that's going to be an important part of this, not just what we allow, but things that we're going to not allow. And I know,
Carla?
pardon?
Easiest way to do this is to state what you want
Right.
in the ordinance, say the following uses are allowed and no other, you're never going to think of everything you want to prohibit, but you're arguing
Okay.
think of everything you want to allow. So, my recommendation is you just eliminate that section entirely. It's not necessary if you write the ordinance correctly.
But for example, if we allow restaurants, are we going to allow drive-throughs? I mean, I personally don't like drive-throughs. I think
You
the
can,
village people walk. They don't sit in their car and, you know.
restaurants are
So-
allowed, but
Isn't
drive-throughs
our
are not.
drive-through a conditional use now? Or is
Yeah,
it?
most places, restaurants
I think
and
it is,
drive-through
yeah.
restaurants are two different types of
So
uses.
just eliminate it as a conditional use, take it out altogether, and which ones can have a drive-through, right?
And we also mentioned crematorium, if anything else comes to mind.
Yeah, Marla, there's a whole list of prohibited uses such as commercial laundry, it's like adult entertainment uses, bulk storage of lumber, plumbing.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of things shouldn't be there, but I think, yeah, but Peter, I like your suggestion, is just say what we do allow, and if it's not on the list, it's not allowed.
Yeah, because you'll never get an exhaustive list. So Peter's right. You just identify what is permitted, and by virtue of it not being in the list, it's not permitted.
Okay, so, does anyone have any other questions or comments for Ernie? Yes. For John? Oh, come up to the microphone.
Sorry, I can't hear and it's not on the tape. You got to go to the mic.
No, I can hear you, but the people online can't.
The thing that I can talk about, primarily from being active in the planning commission and being involved in government here in Lower Frederick over the years, it takes a community of people to come together. And I've done that, and a lot of you here have done the same thing. But it takes ideas, and we get our ideas together. But in everything, we all have good ideas. That's why we have a zoning hearing board. We have conditional use hearings. We've gone through that the last few weeks, and I should say the last few months. But no matter what you put in writing, you have to be willing to work with somebody that comes in here that has the entrepreneurial spirit to want to do something in Lower Frederick Township. You've got to have some land available. You've got to have a person that's got some money, some ideas. And you just formulate the ideas in your ordinances to get somebody to come here. The economy right now is in a little bit of a funk, but it is moving in a lot of areas. And you've got to get people with money and want to come here to Lower Frederick. And if you make your ordinances too strict, they're going to look at it and they'll try a little bit to come in here. But if they get the feeling from the community that they're not wanted, guess what? They leave. So it's a combination of everything. There's no easy answer to try to get people here. It just takes time, it takes money, and it takes ordinances that are easy to work with, but still have to meet some requirements. We've come a long way. For a while, we didn't have sewerage. We have sewerage now. It's given us some help, but it's all residential primarily and very little commercial. So we've got to learn to work. That's all I can say. You've got to have people that want to come here and to get started and invest here because they think they can make some money and build their business.
Okay, thank you, Ernie. Okay.
Sorry, this is Marla again. What are the next steps? Is somebody going to, based on our input, provide a revision of this ordinance? What's next?
Unless directed otherwise, my understanding at this moment is that I've got some revisions to take back to the Planning Commission for evaluation, fine-tuning regarding design standards, requirements for commercial development, and additional guidance in the design of residential development. Fixing that, handling of prohibited uses. and further discussion of the design standards mostly. Did I miss anything?
No, but I do want to say that most of your recommendations that have already been discussed are very good. Thank you.
Happy to provide them. Is there anything else?
I have nothing else at this time. Anyone else? Oh, Diane, you have a question? That's okay.
So Diane Jurin, Zieglerville Road, piggybacking off of what Ernie said, you can't be too restrictive, but I also think you have to kind of decide on a look and where businesses and houses can go. So that's kind of like when William Penn said every single housing unit will have a road parallel to the front door in Philadelphia, and we have a grid in Philadelphia. What are we going to have in Zieglerville? If people keep plopping things in, how are you going to get to those back areas? And do you want it to be driven, or do you want it to be a walking access to the different stores? So when you think about going to Skip Back and you drive through there and everybody is walking on the sidewalk. So do we want a Lower Frederick that is walkable, that pairs up with our connectivities, that makes all the different businesses kind of linked together? And then maybe there's commercial things that are in a different area in a different way with different parking, different access and so forth. So thank you. I'm really glad you guys are doing this. It's important. Even if we're in bad economic times, it's for the future, and it's for one thing after another happening. So
Thank you, Diane. Okay, I guess the next step would be for John to go back to the PC. Okay.
Happy to do it.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Thank you for your time and your effort. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have one other item on our agenda this evening. Going to give this 5 minutes. And we'll have to probably put this on another agenda. It's almost 10 o'clock. And it is the data center and data center accessory use discussion. Well, Marla, you provided us with a food and water watch ordinance.
So, in the interest of time, I guess what I'd like to see is, and this is for you, Peter, is if you have time to take a look at this, can you provide us some recommendations? What should stay, what should go, what is missing? I mean, I think this is pretty good. I know some places have put in height restrictions. Other places have put things like increased increased distance from residential areas. I mean, there's some things that we can add to this or tailor to make it relevant to Lower Frederick. I mean, I kind of look at this in the same way as the funding thing for the park board. We shouldn't dawdle on this. We shouldn't take 6 months on it. Let's get something out that's going to be 95% of what we need. So at least we have some protections, and then we can, if we need to, modify it as we go. I mean, at least that's kind of my attitude, given the urgency we are facing. But Peter, I mean, what do you think? Can you take a look at this and?
I've already looked at it.
Okay.
My office has prepared several of these ordinances for various clients. I'm in the middle of preparing one for another one of my clients. Yeah, to toot our own horn, I think our ordinances are better than the sample you gave us.
Okay.
More comprehensive. I think the sample you gave us goes a bit overboard on some things, like they're limiting sounds, sound to, we in this room would be violating the sound requirements in this ordinance. And so, yeah, if you want, I can show you, I can give you samples of what my office has done, what other places have done that I think are probably a little more comprehensive and a little more realistic than what is in the
Okay.
sample. My office has seen the sample in preparing their ordinances. And then, if you want to talk about it in 2 weeks after you guys look at these things, we can have a further discussion. I'm hopeful that I'll have my draft ordinance for my other client done within the 2 weeks also, so you also could look at that.
Can I ask what other townships you're working with on that?
We've done ordinances for Derry Township out in Dauphin County, Coolball Township up in the Poconos, Palmer Township in Northampton County, East Rock Hill, West Rock Hill, Plumstead Township, all in
Well,
Bucks
West
County.
Rock Hill has a little pressure right now, don't
What?
they? The West Rock Hill has a little pressure right now, don't they?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think any of our clients, as far as I know, have a little pressure. I'm working on one for Bedminster. Bedminster hasn't had a data center question, but we have had approaches from basically operators of large battery providers.
Storage,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So, yeah, think of an array of batteries covering acres. So we're also looking at that. That's also something we probably should look at here. But yeah, those are what we've done. And like I said, I think they're a little more comprehensive and a little more realistic than the Penn Future sample.
Okay, well,
That's fine if you could just, I mean, I think if you could pick the one that's the best. I mean, I don't think we need to look at multiple ones, but
Well, many of them are somewhat similar. So basically, there's kind of two types. I can give you each of those two types you can look at.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, we are down to our public comment section. Are there any public comments this evening? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, not seeing anyone. Supervisor comment? Anyone? Okay. Well, having said that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.